first ever YouTube video. Gonna need a shot real quick. All right, let's do this. What's up, you guys? Christy here. Thank you so much for tuning in to my first ever YouTube video. I'm so excited to get my YouTube channel up and running. It's something I've been saying for a long time now, and I've never had the time, which really was just an excuse, but now I'm here, I'm doing it. I'm super excited to bring you guys some really cool content, to spread some fitness knowledge, to dive into a lot of topics on health, nutrition, fitness, all of the above, and as well show you some really cool workouts. That being said, this is my first ever YouTube video, and while I'm still getting comfortable talking to a camera where no one is behind me, I promise that I will get better at it, and I promise to grow and to keep creating better stuff for you to consume as long as you stick around here and as long as you give me feedback and tell me what it is that you want to see. So just a very brief introduction to me if you are stumbling across this video. My name is Christy. I am the owner of Christy Fitness. I am a personal trainer in San Diego, California, and I also run an online fitness coaching business as well. Where I got started in the fitness industry is where a lot of people get started in the fitness industry, at a commercial gym, and I chose 24-Hour Fitness. And for me, being 19 years old when I started, that was the best place I could possibly start. And from then, it's just been this growth and journey for the past 7 years. I'm 27 now, and I've done a lot of things in the world of fitness. I'm seasoned. I've got a lot of experience in this world, and some of the stuff that I've experienced doesn't come with anything besides just that experience and time and getting your feet wet and getting your hands dirty and doing the work. And so I hope to share with you what I've learned over the last 7 years in these short YouTube videos. All right, so let's jump into today's topic. Today I am bringing you a video called The Basics of Fat Loss. Now, fat loss is an intricate topic, and I am by no means a doctor of any sort, but I do understand the basics of fat loss, and not only that, I understand how to have it make sense to the regular person who's just trying to shed some body fat. So I am going to break it down into 3 categories for you today. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about when it comes to fat loss is your nutrition, and I would argue that this is the most important piece of your fat loss journey. I would say that there's actually no doubt that your nutrition is the most important piece when it comes to you losing fat. But if you have one takeaway at all today from this video, just one, I want you to remember that you cannot lose fat unless you are in a calorie deficit. I repeat, you cannot lose fat unless you are in a calorie deficit. So energy balance is a real thing. Doctors aren't lying to you. Science isn't lying to you when they tell you that all you need to do is to eat less calories than you are burning. That is the truth. But calories in versus calories out is not as simple as we think to apply. It's a very simple concept because it truly is just a simple math equation, but it's not as easy to apply to our lives as people think. In fact, most people think that they are eating way, way less than they are actually eating. We underreport what we're eating, or we just underestimate the calorie density that what we're eating has. But the simple truth is that if you are eating in a calorie surplus, you will not lose weight. You will not lose fat. You have to be in a calorie deficit in order to lose fat every single time. Now, why people think that certain diets that cut out entire macronutrients or entire food groups, those diets work for people. They definitely work. Keto, paleo, gluten-free, low carb, all of those diets work for people, but they all have one thing in common, and the one reason why they work is because they put people in a calorie deficit. And that's just true. So we get energy and we use energy from carbs, from fat, and from protein. that we intake. Now, when you're exercising, or just on a daily basis, most of the time, what you're gonna be using for energy are carbohydrates. And then the second kind of backup is to use fat. You use a little bit of protein, but protein's mostly used in a different way to help your muscles recover. What happens when you cut out carbs entirely from your diet is you're supposed to burn fat because the first fuel source is fat because you're depleting your carbs entirely. But I want to make this very clear, just because you're using fat as your energy source does not mean that you're going to lose fat. Just because you're using fat as your first source of energy does not mean that you will lose body fat. Because, simple equation, again, let's say you're eating 2,000 calories a day and you're me. I need about 1,700 to 1,600 to effectively lose weight or lose body fat. So if I'm eating 2,000, I'm not gonna lose weight. I'm just not. Let's say 1,500 of those calories came from fat, bacon, avocado, peanut butter, high fat food. Sure, am I going to use fat as the first source of energy to burn? Yes, but I'm still in a calorie surplus. I'm still eating 2,000 calories and I only need 1,700, or I need 1,700 to lose weight. So even though, I'm using fat as fuel, that doesn't mean that I'm going to end up losing body fat. Okay, so what does this mean for you? I just really want you guys to grasp that concept of a calorie deficit. Macronutrient numbers are important, but calories matter the most because energy balance. That's it, energy balance. What I always recommend to my clients first and foremost is let's start tracking your food, okay? As annoying or as meticulous as it might seem at first, you're gonna have a hard wake-up call when you look at that MyFitnessPal on your phone and you see what you're eating in a regular day and you're like, oh my God, I'm eating 200 calories every single day, but I thought I was eating healthy. No wonder I'm not losing fat. So I suggest to everyone start tracking your food and be freaking brutally honest with yourself when you're tracking your food. Track that bite of this, track that, extra portion of that, and add that stuff up, and you need to do it for 7 days and be so honest with yourself, and then at that 7 days you have some data to go off of, you have some info to collect and go off of and get a plan going from there. Because just this thought that you're like, oh, I'm in a calorie deficit, like that's not gonna cut it. If you really are serious about losing fat, you have to see some numbers and you have to have some data. You can't just like, oh, but I have a green smoothie for breakfast and then I have a salad and then like, what does that mean? What the heck does that mean? We have to see some numbers, guys, because then when you see that clear as day, there's numbers don't lie, and you can, it's not subjective. It's right there, and then we have some data to go off of. So your nutrition is where it's at, you guys. If you don't have that really, really dialed in, it's gonna be hard to lose fat effectively. And I'm not saying that you need to track your food for the rest of your life, but if you're in a fat loss phase and you're serious about it, you gotta see those numbers. You don't need to do it forever, but there's a time and a place to like be strict on this stuff, and then a time and a place to maintain and to be a little bit looser with it. But at first, you gotta see the numbers, you gotta start counting calories, you gotta do that stuff, okay? Okay, so basics of fat loss. Category 2 is exercise. I love exercise. You might love exercise, you might not like exercise, but chances are that you're gonna need to exercise a little bit if you want to lose fat. Of course, if you're eating in a calorie deficit, you can lose fat without exercise, but why do that? Exercise is so great for so many other reasons other than just fat loss. It's so freaking good for you, and I hope that you love it as much as I do. Maybe not as much as I do, but I do hope that you love it. So, exercise when it comes to fat loss. Just like most people are underestimating their calories, they're eating a lot of calories when they don't think they are, a lot of people are also overestimating the calories that they burn when they exercise. So again, you know, everything is a simple math equation. So if you think that you're burning 600 calories during your hour workout because your Apple Watch or your Fitbit told you so, you're going to think like, oh, I have 600 calories to eat or whatever it may be. And the truth of the matter is that these devices are only so accurate, and a lot of them are not that accurate, and a lot of people are overestimating what they're burning during their workout. When it comes to fat loss, my first piece of advice is to lift weights. Lift weights, resistance train. Get in the gym and start building a little bit of muscle onto your body. Muscle will help you burn fat, and muscle can take the place of fat in your body composition. I think we would all agree that a little bit of muscle is better than a lot of fat. And I don't mean for you to go get huge in the gym. By the way, that's a totally separate video, and it's extremely, extremely hard for women to get huge or get bulky in the gym. But I need you guys to start doing resistance training. So my second piece of advice when it comes to exercise for fat loss is to not prioritize cardio as your number one way to lose fat. And I'm saying this for a couple of reasons. If you're one of those people that's like a cardio bunny and you think that cardio is going to help you lose a lot of fat, a lot of cardio is catabolic in nature. So catabolic means that tissues are being broken down when you perform that type of exercise. Another thing is that you're going to have to do a lot of cardio to lose fat if you are starting at a high cardio like time. So let's say you've been doing 45 minutes of running on the treadmill 5 days a week because you thought that that was the best way for you to lose fat. Now, if you're not willing to add more cardio in, if you're not willing to do 60 minutes or 75 minutes instead of 45 minutes, then you're not going to lose fat. If you've been doing that high number for a consistent time and you're not losing fat, then you're only going to have to introduce more cardio, and you're going to start to resent it and hate it and not want to do it and be freaking tired all the time, when you could just be lifting weights, putting a little bit of muscle on. Muscle burns more calories at rest than fat does, and you would see a big change in your body from consistently lifting more versus doing a lot of cardio. The other thing you could do is just cut calories super low, but we don't want to do that. That's not good for the future. That's not good for the metabolism. So I would say to start cutting back on the cardio, start increasing the weights. My third piece of advice when it comes to exercise for fat loss is do not rely on these guys very much. Do not rely on your smart devices to tell you exactly how many calories you burn so you can go stuff your face with that exact number of calories that you just burned. These are going to really overestimate what you've burned first. And then second, let's get that nutrition dialed in first and really pay attention to the calories where our nutrition goes, so that you don't have to worry about how many calories you've burned during your lifting session. Lifting doesn't burn that many calories, but it has other benefits for fat loss, such as putting muscle on. So don't worry so much about the calories you burn during your workout. It's not as important as figuring out your calories for your nutrition. All right, that's 4. The third and final category that I want to discuss when it comes to fat loss is your genetics. Now, there are many other things that we could discuss when it comes to fat loss, but for today's purposes, I do want to talk about genetics because I get a lot of women, and it is specifically women. There are some men who do this, but as women, we really tend to compare ourselves to other people, and we point to her and we go, I want her abs. Or we see this girl online and we're like, I want her butt, exactly, her butt. And it doesn't quite work like that, you guys. Your genetics do play a role in not only your fat loss and where you're going to lose fat when you do start to lose it, but also just the shape of your body. Everybody is so different. Like, if you're 5'2", you're probably never gonna have that like long, lean legs and all that. Like, I won't. I'm 5'2", and I'm never gonna look like that, and I'm totally fine with it. What I want you guys to focus on is what you can do for your body and what makes you feel most comfortable and confident with what you're given. yes, we can overcome genetics by building muscle and by changing our body composition through a period of time, but know that like your anatomy, as far as your shape and your bone structure and the size of your muscle bellies and things like that, can't be changed, and it's okay. So, for example, some people, when they lose weight, they lose it, you can tell exactly where they've lost weight first. For some people, it's their face. You see the face really start to trim out. For some people, it's the midsection area, and they start to get a really narrow waist before anything else. For some people, it's the upper body. For a lot of women, you do see fat loss in the upper body first versus the lower body, and that's because we are meant to be childbearing, so a lot of women do carry a lot of or most of their fat on their lower half. Not everybody, but just saying, you know, kind of in general for women. Also realize that you cannot spot train when it comes to fat loss. So you can't just point to your hips and say, I want to lose all my fat there, but I'm good with everything else. When fat loss starts to occur, it's going to occur through the entire body. With your genetics, you might start to see a little bit of fat loss elsewhere first, but you can't just like suction it off of one area unless you go get surgery. That's not how it works. Fat reduction will happen all over the body. You cannot spot reduce, okay? So when it comes to fat loss, don't compare your fat loss to somebody else's fat loss and want the exact same thing as them. You've got to compare it to what you're able to do and your best and what your body can look like and what you feel most comfortable at with what you've been given, what you've been blessed with. Alright, you guys, that concludes the basics of fat loss video. I hope that there was some valuable information in this section of the YouTube video for you. Fat loss is a complicated subject. It should be very simple, and it is a simple math equation, but it is hard to implement. There's a lot of things floating out in the world about fat loss, so I hope that you can take these three categories, your exercise, your nutrition, and your genetics, and kind of take what you may from this video and derive a good plan for yourself, what works for you. Prioritize lifting, prioritize calorie counting and being in a caloric deficit, and accept the fact that you can't spot train, you cannot change your genetics, but you can do what you can do. Thanks, you guys.